Welcome to Lives of Light, Little Saints. Today we celebrate Saint Lawrence, whose feast day is August 10th. He was a deacon in ancient Rome who cared deeply for the poor. When powerful people demanded the treasures of the church, Lawrence showed them something they never expected. Let's discover the story of the man who taught the world what God's greatest treasures really are. Story: The Treasures of the Church. Long ago, during the 3rd century, a young man named Lawrence lived in the city of Rome. Lawrence came from Spain and eventually traveled to Rome, where he became a Christian and served the church. He was ordained a deacon. At that time, being a deacon was much more than helping during Mass. Lawrence had an important responsibility. He helped care for the poor, he helped widows and orphans, and he helped distribute the church's resources to people who were suffering. He also helped care for the sacred goods entrusted to the church. Lawrence served under Pope Sixtus II, who became one of his closest spiritual companions. Lawrence loved his shepherd very much. But then, something terrible happened. In the year 258, the Roman Emperor Valerian ordered the persecution of Christian clergy. Pope Sixtus II was arrested and executed. Lawrence was still alive, but he knew that the soldiers would eventually come for him too. According to an ancient Christian account, the Roman authorities demanded that Lawrence hand over the church's treasures. They wanted the wealth of the Christians. Lawrence asked for a little time. He said that he needed several days to gather the treasures. The authorities agreed. But Lawrence had something very different in mind. He went throughout Rome. He gathered the people who were poor, sick, widowed, orphaned, and forgotten. He brought them together. These were the people Lawrence had spent his life serving. After several days, Lawrence returned. The officials were expecting gold. They expected silver. They expected expensive treasures. Instead, Lawrence stood before them with the poor people of Rome. He pointed toward them. "These are the treasures of the church," he said. Church's greatest treasure was not gold. It was God's people, the poor, the sick, the forgotten, the people whom the world considered unimportant. Lawrence knew that every human being is precious in God's eyes. The authorities were furious. Lawrence was arrested and tortured. Eventually, he was put to death for refusing to abandon his faith in Jesus Christ. The church remembers his martyrdom on August 10th, 258. An ancient account says that Lawrence was placed on a gridiron over a fire. This detail became an important part of his traditional story and his artistic symbolism. The Vatican notes that this account comes through an ancient Passio associated with St. Ambrose. But the most important part of Lawrence's story isn't the manner of his death. It is the love that filled his life. He loved Jesus. He loved the poor. He served the church. And when he was asked to choose between Christ and his own safety, he remained faithful. St. Lawrence's witness became so powerful that his devotion spread throughout the Christian world. A great basilica was eventually built over his tomb in Rome. For centuries, Christians have remembered him as a courageous deacon who understood something very important. What the world considers worthless may be incredibly precious to God. Reflection. St. Lawrence teaches us that people are more valuable than things. Imagine someone gave you a choice, a box full of gold, or the opportunity to help someone who was hungry. Which would you choose? St. Lawrence knew the answer. He understood that money can disappear. Gold can be lost. Beautiful objects can break. But an act of love can change someone's life. Ask yourself, do I notice people who are lonely or left out? Am I willing to share what I have? Do I remember that every person is precious to God? St. Lawrence teaches us the greatest treasure is love. Prayer. Dear St. Lawrence, you served Jesus by serving the poor. You understood that God's people are more precious than gold and silver. Help me to see the needs of others. Teach me to share what I have, to care for people who are suffering, and to never forget those who are forgotten. Give me courage when I am afraid. Help me remain faithful to Jesus, just as you remained faithful to him. Please pray for the poor, the sick, the lonely, and everyone who needs help today. May I learn to see every person as a precious treasure in God's eyes. Amen. Remember, little saints, the greatest treasures aren't always things we can hold in our hands. Sometimes the greatest treasure is a person who needs our love. Like St. Lawrence, let us see the dignity and beauty in every person God places in our lives. See you next time on Lives of Light.